that you got at least a 26% and 23% increase over last year's budget. It may be more when it comes to, percentage-wise, it may be more when it comes to the 2000 actuals when you get them at completion. Can you explain those numbers for me, please?
Let me make sure I know which numbers you're talking about.
I'm talking about proposed budget for salaries.
Okay.
Item 2 differentials and item 3 extracurricular.
Okay. The differentials, one of the things that includes, and Mr. Simon should be pleased to hear this, this is in the contract for teachers. We compensate them for credits that they've earned above and beyond.
Well, I understand what they are, Steve. The question is, why are they rising by that amount? 26%?
We stepped that up considerably this year as a way of encouraging professional development. We used to give them $250 for every 3 credits. We stepped that up to $275, which is a 10% increase right there. And we also lifted the cap. It used to be a cap. Once they hit 90 credits, they couldn't go any further. We lifted that cap. That didn't make sense. That just tells people we want them to stop learning at that point.
No, that's also.
What?
Also, when the FY99 budget was formulated, we put 2.5% in the budget for contract negotiations, but it was not in the line items for salaries and was on a separate line item at the bottom of our budget. So the FY99 budget, when it translates into the 2000, from the budget number, you need to add the full 4% that was not in there to begin with. So it was the 4%.
Well, I guess I
all
understand
along,
what you're driving at.
plus the addition.
The problem that I see is that there's a 40% rise over FY99 actuals to the FY 2001 budget. 40% in one category 2 and 41% in category 3 extracurricular. And it just seemed to be an inordinate rise in that area.
The extracurricular does include a couple of stipends for work that had been done without stipend before. There's no new positions in the budget, but there are a couple of additional stipends there.
None of the contracts were signed when the 99 budget was put together.
I understand that.
Can I add to that? Right. The category under salaries, line number 2, differentials, includes a number of items. So let me just review those. It includes stipends that we pay to department chairs, curriculum chairs in our secondary schools. These range upwards to $3,000. These are department heads who supervise, work with teachers, curriculum development, and so forth. We also, in this past contract, and for the first time budgeting in the budget for fiscal 2001, we recognize that there is a need for curriculum support within the building level. So there are some very modest stipends for some elementary teachers to do additional work in the area of curriculum. Mr. Jervey's already indicated that probably about half of the differential category is attributed to additional compensation that we provide to teachers as they acquire additional credits through graduate school. It's important to remember that we're looking at a changing staff, a rapidly changing staff. Probably in the last 5 years, anywhere from 60 to 70% of the teaching staff is turned over. When we hire new individuals in, we not only hire them in general, not always, but in general, at lower steps. They're also coming in sometimes without a master's degree or additional graduate or in-service credit. The plus of that is that you have an initial savings on your salary side. But as you begin to go from that initial point up through year after year, then additional professional development will add to this differential. So that's why that's being reflected in here. Some other categories in terms of differential, we have traditionally had to have people employed during the summer months to do a variety of tasks for the school department. For example, the 400 computers that I mentioned, the summer is the time in which we service those. So this budget for the first time is reflecting a differential for a core team of people to work in the summer on servicing on technology. This money, or this particular category, as I said, deals with a number of items, not necessarily just the in-service credits.
John?
I want to talk about grants for a minute. My left hand is chapter 70 and it's going down, according to Carl. How much did we get in grants this year? Because my feeling is there's only a few people in the system that are going after the low-hanging fruit. But if you listen to the television set, Gore's up there, Bush is up there, education, we're going to have money all over the place. So I'm saying we ought to be changing our strategy. If the 70's going down, we ought to have some active people going after grants out there. We ought to identify them. So how much money did we get in grants that come into the system last year?
Carl has given us a list recently, but I don't remember the number.
I'd be happy to pull it together again.
All right, Carl, would you say there's more available out there if we only had the time to go after it?
I'd make one comment, and that would be that in my previous experience in other public positions, I would find often that grants have a lot of strings attached to them.
Yeah.
Grants are not situations where you just bring in money and do with it what you wish, but they are provided to you for very prescribed activities. So they're not always the panacea they may be. You apply for a grant and then you're providing a very specific prescribed activity. They don't necessarily add to your bottom line, but they allow you to do better in a specific area, if you will.
Can I just give two examples of two grants that we have just acquired because of the work of people in the system? We have, I mentioned our integrated technology teacher, Mr. Biggs, working with our director of curriculum, Marsha O'Neill, and a team at the Batchelder School has just secured, I think, a very competitive grant for $45,000. Again, I'd love to take that money and shift it into the problem here to help offset the problem, but the reality is that it allows a core group of teachers at the Batchelder School to look at wireless technology, how can it be used to integrate teaching and learning, and then to step out into all of our schools for professional development. So it certainly enhances professional development. Second area that second grant that we recently acquired is in the area of school to careers. We continue to expand in that direction. Tomorrow afternoon, we have a team of people meeting with representatives from Cisco Software Computer Technology to look at ways in which we can open a program in our high school to train students to be network technicians. Again, that's in-kind money that we're aggressively going after, given the limited resources of time and people that we have.
But let's make a note to have that number.
Mr. Chirky, I had another question regarding a program that was instituted in the school department several years ago, and that's the early retirement program. It is still in force, and I want to know if it's the policy of the school committee to continue that program in spite of the fact that we no longer have any glut of teachers in the labor market. The second part of the question is, if we're going to have some buyouts this year, where is that money in this budget, or is it someplace else?
Okay. The first issue, that is part of a union contract. Now, to change that, we would have to agree mutually. We'd be asking them to give up something that they have, something which most likely they accepted instead of something else at the time. I don't know exactly what happened at that time. It's been there since before I was on the school committee. It's not likely that they would want to give that up. It's not something that we have asked them to give up, because frankly, I don't think we have anything big enough to offer in exchange.
What is the cost of that this year, please?
We will have 5 teachers retiring this year. I don't know if each of them is, it's a benefit that expires once they hit age 65, I believe, 64, and I don't know if all of them qualify.
Yeah.
Pay the numbers.
And that's not even today's.
Sure, what price. The costs of the retirement incentive will be in the range of $250,000 this year for those employees who retired, will be retiring.
Is that all retirement incentive, or does that include the sick leave buyback?
The formula that we use to compute the payout is a function of a payback of a certain percentage of unused sick days, as well as number of years in the system. Is a formula. And
I understand that. Where is
yeah.
the money in the budget?
We don't budget it in our operational budget. It is, I think I'll defer to.
I'll take that. What was it, 3-4 years ago? We got together with the Selectmen and Finance Committee. This is treated as a separate warrant article, a separate budget item in the town's books. And it's done that way intentionally so that it can be funded gradually over the years. Money is put into that fund each year, not necessarily the same amount that's going to be taken out that year. That fund will be, Finance Committee is recommending $200,000 of
Yeah.
funding for that this year.
Yep.
And we will actually use more this year than is being recommended to be put in. But we've put more in some previous years than we've taken out. That's a way of spreading that cost over the years, which is a more logical way of funding this retirement benefit. And it is not simply school employees whose retirement benefits are paid out of this fund. It's all town employees.
Can I just add, I think it's misleading to refer to this as an early retirement incentive. The greatest benefits would kick in if a staff member has been working in North Reading for 15 years or more and is not 55 years old. It is a sliding scale, and then that money terminates after age 64. So our data indicates that the majority of staff members will be working a full career here in North Reading, well past what even the early level of that incentive originally kicks in. There is a second piece of it, which is sick time, accumulated sick time buyback, which in many contracts, that's a standard procedure.
I might say that the teachers often regard this as more of an insurance in case they have to retire early. And that's why I don't think they'd be at all willing to give it up.
No, I was asking for policy.
We have not sought to roll that back, but, George.
Okay. Just to facilitate things, I got a couple of questions. Some of them have already been covered. This isn't a masterpiece by any stretch of imagination, a couple of copies, it's just to make it easier for me. Basically, in terms of staffing at the high school, I want to get into the technology at the high school. I'm really concerned that we're lagging way further behind than what we should be for our students at the high school. And I have some general questions. In terms of staffing, we currently have in the system, not necessarily at the high school, but in the system, we have a K-12 curriculum coordinator. I may not have the title exactly right, but I think you know what I mean. We have a technology technician, a technology specialist. We have a service specialist. We have academic division leaders. We have principals and vice principals. My question is this level of staffing now sufficient to bring the technology needs of the high school to where they need to be? Or are we still going to be in a position where we're going to have to keep adding staff to meet the demands of technology?
There were requests in the preliminary budget both for another integrated technology